Hello and welcome back to the Shark Source podcast. I'm here joined as always by Shaedon, and today we got not a fun episode to do. We've got, as I'm sure you're all aware, the coronavirus outbreak has suspended the NHL season, and so that's what we're going to be talking about mostly. Obviously we don't have any more information than anyone else, but we'll be giving our thoughts on it, and then we're going to be doing an update based on uh, update on the standings and just what had happened since our last episode, which was episode 18 that we published, and that came out February 26th. So there's some stuff has changed since then, but not too much, obviously, since uh, it's a lot. We haven't had hockey since Wednesday night. So we'll talk about all that on the show, but we're going to start with the biggest. We'll take a look at the standings and some other stuff. But of course, we have to start with the coronavirus story. So if you, I don't think there's a single person in the world right now who isn't even aware of this. But if you are somehow not aware, the NHL suspended its season due to the coronavirus outbreak, which has just been spreading across the whole world, and the entire country, and I guess both countries, USA and Canada, are sort of shutting down. I mean, I guess I'll let Shaedon talk about what's going on in Canada, but in the U.S., pretty much most public schools have been closed. Almost all colleges have been closed. My school is closed, and works. They're telling people to work from home. So really, there's nothing happening, and it makes sense for the NHL to and all these other leagues to shut down. But Shaedon, so I mean, what's been going on for you? Do you still have your school, and any other thoughts on the NHL suspending its season?
Well, currently in Alberta, we still have school, which is stupid because I'm pretty sure every province except BC and Alberta has closed down their schools. So, unfortunately for me, I still have to go, but, it's really concerning about the virus, just how fast it spreads. I think it's up to like 160,000 cases. Thankfully, where I live, there hasn't been too many, so, but, just about the, it sucks it has to be suspended, but, it's for the better, public safety comes first, and, obviously, we don't know when the outbreak's gonna end. It could literally end, in 2 months. It could end in 6 months. So, I think it's for the better currently. I still believe at some point it will return out. I don't know if they'll finish the regular season. I think they should honestly just start the playoffs, but. You see other leagues closing down, such as the Finnish leagues, the Swedish leagues. Of course, the MLB got pushed back. The NBA also suspended their league after a couple players got tested positive. So, it had to happen, and it's kind of boring with all hockey. I've been really bored. So, like you said, it's not fun, but safety comes first.
Yeah, this is a huge problem for us fans because the NBA that closed on Wednesday night, the NHL closed the next day, Thursday, and I mean we've had nothing. And just to show like how serious this is, March Madness, so that's college basketball, and I don't watch it, but it's a huge deal here, and that's canceled. They were at first going to play it in empty arenas. Now they just canceled it. I mean, and that gets millions of viewers. So for them to cancel that, and that's costing the NCAA millions of dollars. I mean, it really shows how serious this is. And I don't know when we're going to have sports back. NBA, they said they were suspending for at least 30 days. The NHL, luckily, has not said when they will come back. I guess that could
3
be.
weeks.
Oh, they said 3 weeks now? Okay.
Yeah, that said that I think a couple days ago. So.
Okay, yeah. So I'll just double check that. But yeah, uh, if that's the case, we're gonna be waiting a while. But I think, like Shaedon said, I just would like the season to come back. Uh, yeah, I saw 2 weeks. I never saw 3 weeks, but I mean, I get it doesn't. 2 weeks, 3 weeks doesn't. The point is we're not gonna have hockey for a while, and if yeah, like you said, leagues in Europe have canceled their seasons completely. The ECHL minor league has canceled its season completely. Uh, so we're just waiting, and now, a lot of people, depending on when the NHL comes back, if it comes back this season, that'll basically determine like what's going to happen for the playoffs because not all the teams have played the same number of games. So I'm sure a lot of people would like to see the NHL finish its regular season. But if we can't finish it, they're going to have to go off points percentage and just start the playoffs. So we'll actually, when we look at the standings, we'll look at it in point percentage to see who makes the playoffs then, just because that could end up being how it's decided. But then also, yeah, I mean, it just sucks. I mean, we really have nothing to do. There's no sports on, and I have, when we're all staying home from school and work, but normally that's when I would watch sports, but we are unable to.
You know, I'm wondering, like if we're going by the points percentage thing, don't you think would that trigger some teams to, react? Like that wouldn't go well with some teams if we go by points percentage, but at the same time, like you said, a lot of teams haven't played the same amount of games, so it's a tricky situation for the NHL to think of a way to, to do the playoffs if the season's not going to be back. So I'm interested to see what would happen there, but
I just quite honestly don't see a way they can finish the regular season unless they come back like next week, which I don't think they're going to. I think it's very likely the NHL probably is out for at least 30 days, like the NBA. And that would 30 days from when the league stopped. The league stopped on the 12th, Thursday the 12th. So April the 12th, and the all the teams have basically between 68 and 71 games played. I mean, I don't see how it's possible that they would have these teams play the additional, 14 to 11 games left, and then play the playoffs. I mean, that would take us just finishing the regular season if we started on April 12th would take us like to the beginning of May for the start of playoffs. And that's just the start. So we'd be having hockey until July, really, even with a condensed schedule. So I think it's much more likely that even if we do come back, we just go off points percentage.
well, like you said that if it comes back in a month like April 12th, it's gonna last till the start of May. But remember, in 2013, I think it was the lockout season. I'm pretty sure the playoffs started late April, finished around the end of June, and they still had the awards around that time. I think they had the draft around that time. I'm not too sure. So, I think that if they come back in 3 to 4 weeks, there's still some time to finish off the season, but maybe they can shave off 2 to 3 games and just make it a 77 game schedule. But like you said, I think they should start the playoffs right away. And another thing I'm interested to see what happens with all these public gathering bans for the time being. What would happen to the draft? Where there's thousands of people, including the prospects, in that building. So, would that be done over the phone, or how would that work?
Well, I think that would only happen if the playoffs don't happen because the because that's after the playoffs. So if you're gonna allow people to watch the playoff games, and I think I have a very hard time believing they would play the Stanley Cup playoffs and the Cup final in empty arenas. I could maybe see them finishing the regular season in empty arenas if they wanted to come back earlier, but I honestly don't even think that's going to happen. That I think they're either going to come back completely and have fans in the buildings, or they're not going to come back for the season. I don't think they're going to do empty arenas. So I think for the draft, either the season will get canceled and then they would just have the draft over the phone like they used to do, uh, like in the old days, or they'll just have it back to normal because hopefully by then, uh, the curve will be flattened.
Right. But just another thing. This has nothing to do with hockey, but just in the virus itself. I know it's contagious as hell, but if people just self isolate themselves, like that's what baseball events do. Like the roads are completely dead. It's the weekend, and people if people just self quarantine themselves, just wash their hands, not touch their face. I think that would slow down the amount of cases being found, and there's a lot of new cases being found. You can work on the cases that you already have, and maybe just maybe that can allow the league to come back sooner than later.
Yeah, if we want the league to come back, that's our main thing. For the I think they do have to pretty much shut down the rest of society in order to not just to get the league back, but really to flatten the curve. There's still it's frustrating because there's still things that are open. The fact that you still have school is, I mean, I know it's a little different because the number of cases is much lower in Alberta than it is in California, but the fact that you still have school is frustrating because if you're gonna shut down one thing like the NHL, you should shut down everything. And not even in California where there's a huge number of cases compared to the rest of the country. I believe we have this. Our state has the second most cases. There's still schools that are open, believe it or not, which is they haven't closed. Most of them are closed, but there's still some that are open, which is just not smart. So I think we really just gotta close everything until the number of new cases starts dropping and people start recovering.
Right. There is one good news about potential return for the NHLs that I think was a couple days ago on Sportsnet Central, which is basically the NHL network here in Canada. Bettman was on. I think he said that he expects training camps to open as early as next week. So if teams start training early, that's a good sign, of course. So obviously, like you said, the new cases have to start dropping. Otherwise, the league's going to be out for a commission for a while. So it's going to be an interesting process to watch. And I just hope it gets better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much more to say than that. I mean, there's just nothing to watch. I want to just check with the other leagues real quick. The AHL I don't believe has canceled their season yet. I'm not. I think the CHL has also just suspended theirs, so I'm not sure. But I believe NCAA is canceled for men's.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So AHL, we'll see. I guess the one thing I can take away from it, is the Sharks weren't going to make the playoffs anyway. So if the season does get canceled, I'm not as upset. But I mean, it really must suck. You've been texting me about it. The Oilers are finally good, and now hopefully they'll be able to finish the season. Like that would just be very unfortunate.
Right. Like I've literally been waiting forever. The 1 year that they're finally good, this happened. So, but stuff happens, and like I said, my honest prediction that I think they will come back, but I just don't know when.
Yeah. I think it's the same with me. I do think the league will come back because I think that the United States and Canada are they've both taken measures early. We haven't gotten to the point where Italy is at, where they've had such a huge number of cases that every part of their country's in lockdown. We've locked down a big part of our country, so I think that hopefully we'll be able to control it and get back sooner. So we'll see, but anyway, I mean, there's not too much more that can be said on the league cancellations because we don't know anything more than anyone else knows, other than we just hope it comes back soon. I think we both think that. I guess I should ask you, do you think that, just if you had to speculate right now, do you think they finish the regular season? Do you think they play the full playoffs? Do you think part of the playoffs are canceled? Like, what do you think happens with the NHL? Just guessing.
Um, that's hard. I'd say if they come back around mid-April, which is plausible, but I think that they would finish some of the regular season. I don't think they'd play the rest of the 14 to 11 games like teams like Detroit, Ottawa, LA. Like they're basically out. So maybe I think all teams will play up to 75 games, and then they just start the playoffs, and whoever's in what position, of course, the wild card in the three divisional spots gets in. So that's what I think will happen. But once again, it's too early to tell. But just pray that the cases go down, and as soon as that happens, maybe we'll get some good news on the league.
Yeah, I'm gonna be optimistic, and I'll say I think that the league does continue, but I don't think the season's gonna get canceled. But my honest prediction is that the regular season does not get finished. Uh, I think they're going to go off points percentage and then still have their full playoffs. And with that in mind, we're going to transition over from the talk about the virus in general to this: what would happen if what we think is the most likely scenario, they go off points percentage today. So and then after that, we can also talk about our potential NHL awards, what those would be if the season is stopped today. So let's take a look at the standings and points percentage. I have that pulled up right here. And then we'll see who makes it on points percentage, because it's not the same as who's going to make it on points. So right now, and then I'll read off the standings real quickly with points after, or I'll just read the differences. So in the Atlantic Division, the Bruins are going to win that by points percentage. They would also win the President's Trophy for best record. They have a .714 point percentage. The Lightning are in second with a .657 points percentage. Then we have the Leafs with a .579 points percentage. So those are your Atlantic Division playoff teams. In the Metro, we have the Caps winning that division with a .652 points percentage. We got the Flyers with a .645 points percentage, and the Penguins with a .623. Then both wild cards are from the Metro. Hurricanes are wild card 1 with a .596, and the Islanders, who, if any team needed this break more than any other team, I think it's the Islanders. Maybe Dallas actually more, but the Islanders have really been slumping, and so maybe they will come out of it. So maybe this break can help them turn the season around. They have a .588. Then in the West, the Blues would win the conference with a .662 points percentage. Then we got the Avs a .657. Then Dallas a .594. Wild card 1, Nashville with a .565. Then in the West, Vegas wins the Pacific. In the Pacific, Vegas wins it with a .606. Then Edmonton with a .585. Then Vancouver with a .565. Then Calgary, the second wild card spot, with a .564. Now, this is where a lot of people are going to get upset about points percentage, and understandably so. Winnipeg is 0.002 behind Nashville for the first wild card spot and 0.001 behind Calgary for the second wild card spot. But if you look at the points right now in the standings, they actually have more points and more wins than both Nashville and Vancouver, and Calgary, who are all playoff teams. But under the points percentage system, they would not make the playoffs. So they would be very upset by this. So those are your standings. Any thoughts about the playoffs that based on this, the teams who make the playoffs? Any thoughts about them?
Well, I'm pissed that there won't be a Battle of Alberta if that happens. But I think it's the most fair way to do it. Like you said, Jets fans won't be happy about that. You know what? Maybe even Minnesota fans, because they're right there in the playoff spot. You predicted them to make the playoffs. Like, they're 1 point away. They have a couple games handle Winnipeg.
Yeah.
That's why I don't know what the NHL does here.
Here's one idea. The team with the least amount of games played are Carolina and Islanders with 68. The team the most number of games played by any team is 71. So what the NHL could do is say, all right, we can't finish the regular season, but since we're gonna allow every team to play 71 games. So if you've already played 71 games, your season's over. But if you haven't played 71 games, we're going to let you play the next couple games on your schedule. And then they would see where it's at there. I think that would be a little more fair than points percentage, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, that's the troubling thing, some teams aren't going to be happy. That's why I have a feeling that they're somehow going to finish the season. In my heart, I want to say the NHL comes back early April, even though that's not going to happen. But
I honestly just don't see that. I think it's going to be they come back at earliest April 12th, which would be 30 days after they suspended. And I'd be happy if that's when they came back, because I just want them to come back at all, and I don't see a way they could finish the regular season that way. But like you said, we wouldn't have a Battle of Alberta, but we would have some interesting playoff matchups. So I mean, we can talk about these teams. We'd have another Battle of Pennsylvania. I believe we had that 2 years ago. Yeah, we did. We had that 2 years ago. This time, I think Philadelphia is much better than they were. They're 9-1-0 in their last 10, and Pittsburgh is slumping. They're 3-7-0 in their last 10. So that would be an intriguing matchup. We would have a rematch of last year's first round with Washington, Carolina. I'd love to see that. We wouldn't have a Battle of Alberta, but we would have Edmonton versus Vancouver, and that's a rivalry that sort of underrated because it's shadowed by the Battle of Alberta, but that would be a fun matchup. So yeah, I mean, we would have. I'd like to watch these playoffs. I think they're. I don't think there's anything wrong with the teams making these playoffs. They're all pretty good teams. Okay, so I think with the standings done, we're now going to talk about some awards. So basically, if the season ended and there's no more games, who do you think is going to win the awards? I'll start with the awards that are just statistical. So the Art Ross Trophy would go to Leon Draisaitl with the most points. That would be 110 points. He has 13 points more than McDavid, who's his closest competition. So yeah, Draisaitl, the clear, he deserves it the most. So clearly winning that. I think, and then the Rocket Richard, Pastrnak, and Ovechkin are actually tied for it. So I don't remember do you know what happens when you're tied for the Rocket Richard?
points.
It goes to points.
I think it's most points.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah. I'm not sure. And I just looked it up actually. Unlike Art Ross Trophy, there are no tiebreakers. So, hold on, we're having some connection problems. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. So anyway, yeah. Apparently, you can't. There are no tiebreakers for the Rocket Richard. So, I get the last time this happened. It seems was 2004. So okay, there would be a tie, I guess. All right. So Ovechkin and Pastrnak would tie. And now we're going to go through our opinions. So we're going to start with the Hart Trophy, and I have a feeling I know who you're going to pick.
Yeah, so I'm going to choose Draisaitl just because when Connor was out for those 7 games, he practically put the team on his back. I believe he went 3-2-2 when he was injured. So, Leon has most points in the league, and he's my Hart Trophy just because of that. Without him, and of course you still have McDavid, but without him, I don't think we'd be in the position where we are in right now. And he's completely shown the league he's one of the best players. He's probably a top 5 player in the league, and he can drive his own line. So, Connor on line 1, Leon right line 2 makes the Oilers that much more dangerous. And just because of that, I'm gonna give the Hart to Leon.
Yeah, a lot of people would agree, and I do agree with you. Draisaitl is my Hart pick. Now, there's a lot of people in the advanced analytics community who are saying that's not a good choice, and they don't even have him as top 5, and they're saying Panarin would be their pick. And I think Panarin's had a great season, but I just disagree. I think Draisaitl runs away with the Hart Trophy this year. And it's good for him because I know he gets overshadowed by McDavid a lot, and I think McDavid's gonna win a Hart Trophy for you again and again for years to come. So but with his injuries this year, it's allowed Draisaitl the opportunity to probably win it this year. So that's my pick for that. All right, next we're gonna go to the Norris Trophy. Who's your pick for that one?
Well, there's been a lot of great defensemen this season. A lot of young guys like Hughes and McCarr, but I think without a doubt the Norris goes to John Carlson. He's the guy. The guy's just been a force this season. He has 75 points in 69 games, and he's one of the better defenders in the league. He plays up to 27, 28 minutes a night, and it might not show up, but his defensive game's pretty solid too. And even though the Caps have been struggling, he's still producing for them, and he's just a really great all-around defenseman now. The Norris is basically the Norris nowadays is basically giving it to the defender of the most points, but I just think all around he's just been better than any other defender in the league. So I'm gonna give it to John Carlson.
Yeah, I have to agree on that one. And I'm not the type of person who believes defense. I'm not like a huge I like offensive defensemen, but I would prefer a slightly less offensive defenseman who can play defense. But Carlson is a good defenseman, so he is good defensively and offensively. So my pick would be John Carlson. All right, next we're gonna go to the Vezina Trophy. This one I think is a little tougher than the last ones we've been going through. So who's your pick for the Vezina Trophy?
Yeah, it's a hard one. Honestly, from my eye, it seems like a lot of starting goaltenders has, their stats don't look that great because if you look at, the leaders for goals against average and save percentage, a lot of them were backup goalies like Jake Allen and Hudobin and Halak. And, there's one easy choice in my mind, and that's Tuukka Rask. He's playing his goals against average is the best in the league. His save percentage is top in the league. I'm pretty sure he went 5 months at home without losing game of regulation. He's the sole reason why the Bruins have 100 points. And you know what? It's it's more of a redemption season for him, a redemption season for Tuca, because I remember a couple of years ago where I think his save percentage was like a .915 and stuff like that, but Tuca showed that he can play the NHL game again, so without a doubt, he's my Vezina winner.
All right, I'm going to disagree with you here for the first time. My pick for the Vezina is Connor Hellebuck. And the reason I pick Hellebuck, I have a few reasons. So he does have a worse save percentage than Tuukka Rask. Tuukka's got a 9.29. Hellebuck only has a 9.22. But the reason I'm picking Hellebuck is this. So firstly, he has played 17 more games than Rask. Now, obviously, I'm not one of these people who thinks wins is a goaltending stat. I know wins is a team stat more, but the fact that he's played more games, he's more tired. Goalies nowadays, starting goalies are playing less and less. Teams are resting them, and it's improving their performance. Rask has Halak as a backup, and Halak is a good backup, but Hellebuck has played 58 out of 71 games and still has a very good save percentage. And more importantly, he plays in front of a team with one of the worst defenses in the league. Winnipeg, with the loss of Bufflin, people wanted them to had a major defenseman at the deadline, and they just didn't do it. But he has really stood tall for them, and he's one of the main reasons why they're still in contention for a playoff spot. So Connor Hellebuck is my Vezina pick. All right, now we're going to and I forgot to mention he also leads the leagues in shutouts with 6 shutouts. All right, now we're going to the Calder Trophy Rookie of the Year. Who's your pick for the Calder?
To my mind, so one of them is Cale Makar for the Avs. He was hyped up, and he's promised us that 50 points in 57 games for them. After they traded Barry, he stepped in, and he's just been phenomenal to watch. Even in the playoffs, he was just electric out there, and he's gonna get better and better. Like, he's gonna win the Norris one day for sure. There's no doubt about that. And I can honestly see him hitting 80 to 90 points this season, just because how great he is. And he's playing with Nathan McKinnon and guys like Mikko Rantanen and Gabe Landeskog. So the kid's gonna have a great career. Another candidate I have is Dominic Kubalik from Chicago. It looks like they always find these European guys that play well. First they had Panarin, then was Dominic Kahun, now Kubalik. 30 goals. That in itself is just impressive, let alone in your first NHL season. 46 points. Even though he's 24 years old, and I feel like there should be a certain age limit on the Calder Trophy. But without a doubt, he's gonna be up there for consideration. And just a great player. And the other guy is Quinn Hughes for the Canucks. Same thing as Makar. Kid's electric. Great offensive defenseman. And with that core in Vancouver, they're going to be a scary team. And Hughes is going to lead that blue line. But in my honest opinion, the guy that wins the Calder will be Cale Makar. Just because he's just changed the defense in Colorado. And he's a difference maker. So I'm going to say Makar wins the Calder.
Yeah, I agree with you. I got Makar, and I liked how you brought up Kubalik, but yeah, he is 24. That doesn't matter right now. I think they should make a rule with an age limit. But yeah, Cale Makar, I think, wins it, and the reason I have him over Hughes is just because he only has 3 fewer points than Hughes in 11 less games. I think that right there is just proof enough that, offensively, he deserves to win it. So Cale Makar is my Rookie of the Year pick. And then the lady, we're not going to do like Lady Byng. I don't really know enough of them for Selke. So if you have a pick for that, we can do that one. But if you don't, we'll just do Jack Adams.
I'm just gonna get Bergeron just because I'm pretty sure Selke goes to the best defensive players. So
Best
I'm
defensive
just gonna say
forward.
Bergeron for that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a safe bet. I don't know, so I'm not going to answer that one just because yeah, I guess Bergeron's a pretty good pick for that. All right, we'll do the coach and then GM of the year. So who do you have as your coach of the year?
Well, there's a lot of candidates. That's a tough one. You can argue. Honestly, it can really depend how they do the playoffs too. Because if you don't do points percentage, Columbus is in. So you can make an argument that John Tortorella deserves a lot of credit for being nominated for Jack Adams because we know they lost Bobrovsky, even though it might not be considered a big loss because of what he's doing in Florida. But losing Panarin, Duchesne, and Dzingel, that's huge for your offensive core. But guys like Bjorkstrand has stepped up, Cam Atkinson, and some of the younger players like Emil Benstrom has really showed up at times too. Case from Pittsburgh too. Just the amount of injuries they had, and guys like Brian Rust who have a point per game. Enough said and done. Sullivan could easily be nominated for that. If the Canucks go in by points percentage, does Travis Green get nominated? Does Dave Tippett maybe probably get nominated for the Oilers? So I don't know who wins it, but it's a hard one indeed. So I don't know. That's a tough one for me.
Who you pick though? You have to pick. Who's your choice?
Oh, the bias is here, but just what Dave Tippett has done with the Oilers, improving their defensive structure, having one of the best PKs in the league, second to the Sharks, which I don't know how.
Yeah, I still don't get that.
Having a basement historic power play, almost 30% in the league. You could say that we have McDavid and Draisaitl, and players like and supporting players like Nuge and Yamamoto, but I think Tippett has done a lot with this team to turn them around. The goaltending numbers have been way better. Mikko Koskinen has like a .918 save percentage. His goals against average is a bit high, but that's more of a team side in my opinion. So I think Tippett deserves all the credit in the world, and right now he is my Jack Adams winner.
Yeah, you know what? I actually will agree with that. I also have him as the Jack Adams winner. And the main thing is the Oilers got better over the offseason, I believe, but I don't think they made such a huge improvement that we can say it's not the coach at all. I think Tippett is a huge part of the reason that they're good. And I think it was such a big turnaround. I think you have to give it to Dave Tippett. Now, I'm going to mention two other coaches I think should be nominated, or maybe not nominated, but mentioned that you didn't mention. Now, Bruce Cassidy, I know the Bruins are extremely good and probably would have done very well with or without him. But then again, I think the fact that they're first in the league by quite a big margin, 8 points, I think that's just good. I think you have to at least consider Cassidy for it. And just the way he's been able to turn a team from being an average playoff team into a cup contender in just a few years, I think that's worth giving him a nomination, considering him. And Alain Vigneault, the Flyers head coach, I think what they've done this season is just remarkable. I mean, they didn't make the playoffs last season, and they've been average for so long. Now they're going head-to-head with the Caps for their division title. So I think you have to give Alain Vigneault at least a nomination, and he would be my runner-up to Dave Tippett. All right, and now GM of the year. This one is difficult, I think, but I think a little less difficult.
What? I guess if I include him here for Jim of the year, I guess I should have included him for Coach of the Year. But if the Jets make it in, I think Kevin Cheveldayoff deserves credit for GM of the Year. Basically they didn't really do anything over the summer besides losing a lot of key pieces. And the fact that they're still in playoff contention, maybe that's more on the coach, probably is, but I just think that I think with all the criticism he was under and the pressure of adding a defenseman at the deadline, he stood pat, and the Jets have actually been pretty good over the last 10 games. So he should deserve some credit. Um, you know, but once again, I have to kind of, okay, before I go to Edmonton, even Jim Benny in Vancouver, adding pieces like JT Miller over the offseason, Tyler Myers, a guy that has been good in their top four core, and, adding at the deadline and getting to Foley, just making their top nine that much stronger. And, I think Benny deserves a lot of credit for the work he's done. But once again, I have to come back to Edmonton here. The Oilers were a mess coming to the summer. Literally, they were a mess. They had no cap space, and the only moves they can make were minor debt moves. And of course, Holland traded Lucic for Neal. He's added some key vital PK roles for Archibald and Shaedon, who have worked out well. He signed Mike Smith to a decently sized deal. Smith is hot and cold, but once again, I just think that after coming off, maybe not a couple of years, the last couple of years of him in Detroit weren't so great. Him just starting in a new place. I think Holland also deserves all the credit for what's been going on in Edmonton. And, he added pieces like Ennis and Afasiu and Mike Green to the team. So I wouldn't say Tipu will, right now I would say Holland will win Gym of the Year, but I'm not certain on that.
All right, I think Holland did a great job, but my picks, they're sort of funny, but then they're also half serious too. So my first one, Pierre Dorian, even though he didn't do even though his team is terrible this year, and even though his best trade didn't happen this year, I think that Carlson trade, I think everyone who criticized him for it owes him a big apology, because that has to be one of the best trades of this decade. Well, it was last decade. I mean, I can't remember a trade that's worked out as well as that one for the Sens. Now, they lost Carlson, but as it turns out, that wasn't too big of a loss because he has not lived up to what he was supposed to be in San Jose. And now they could there's a very good chance they could get the number 1 and then the number 2 overall pick. Right now, they're the second last team in the NHL, and the Sharks are the third last. So they could win both the first and second overall pick quite easily. So if you're a Sens fan, you have to be really happy with where the team is going, even though they're bad this year, even though their owner is probably one of if not the worst owner in the league. You have to be excited about the future. But this is going to be a pick that I think is I'm sure is unpopular, but I'm saying it anyway. I think Kyle Dubas, and the reason is not that the Leafs are doing fantastic, but it's because he was able to use the cap so well. A lot of people were saying as soon as the Nylander deal is signed, oh, Matthews is gone. Then as soon as the Matthews deal is gone, he'll never be able to sign Marner. But he did. So he signed Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, and Johnson and Kapanen. He really was able to lock up that core and stay within the cap when no one thought he could do it. Now, and then also the decision to fire Babcock and bring in Sheldon Keefe, I think, was a great decision. Now, I just don't think the Leafs are as good as a lot of people think they are. But that said, I think Kyle Dubas has done a great job as GM, and he's my pick.
Okay.
I think even Leafs fans, a lot of them would disagree. But my pick is Kyle Dubas. All right.
A lot of Leafs fans want Dubas sell it, actually.
Yes, but they're not very smart because I think I just don't. I think what they don't understand is the Leafs just aren't as good as they think they are.
Yeah.
They think they should be doing way better, but I think the fact that they're doing this good is credit to Dubas. So, but anyway, I think that's about it for the awards that can be decided like this. Are there any other awards you can think of that we want to do, or is that pretty much good?
I guess Ted Lindsay, but
Well, that's the same as the part, basically, right?
Basically, yeah.
So,
So,
all right.
Yeah, there's nothing really else.
All right. So, are there any other topics you want to cover? I mean, this is definitely not a typical podcast with the whole coronavirus situation.
Well, there was one news today which is pretty minor, but it was kind of weird. I don't know who the Ducks put on waivers, but they put someone on waivers, which is
Who?
kind of weird because I don't know who the Ducks put on waivers. I forgot, but
I'll check right now.
It's kind of weird because
Kiefer Sherwood.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird that hockey's not being played and yet
here
placed on waivers.
Here's
so I don't really understand.
Let me explain. Well, I'll read a tweet from Cap Friendly. Once a player clears waivers, they can remain on the roster for 10 games or 30 days before they require waivers again. So, with the season paused, the clock will only start when hockey resumes. So, yeah, no, that doesn't make sense because it doesn't really matter why they would do it before. So I'm not really sure why he's placed on waivers. We would never talk about this minor of a waiver if we had hockey going on, but we really just don't have anything. So,
right.
Yeah.
And just one more thing, that's not just the NHL, but we were talking about this earlier about Alberta Schools. They just announced that they're closing up.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess that's good news because it'll probably stop the spread more quickly.
Right.
I think we need to just really shut everything down as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And then start it up so that we can start it up again soon. Because now that hockey's done, we need to. Stop everything because there's nothing for me to. And baseball too. I was excited for baseball season. That's my other sport I like watching, and it's shut down too. So.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but anyway, they've really shut down everything. I mean, even the youth hockey that I was part of, like the 18U hockey, that is shut. The state championships were supposed to be this weekend. They are not happening. My team did not make it, so it doesn't affect me, but it's unfortunate for the people who wanted to go. And then USA Hockey, youth hockey, and 18U national championships is also canceled. So, unfortunate for those players, but not for me. My season's already over. Okay, so is there anything else you wanted to talk about for this show, or is that about it? We've lost him.
I get that.
Okay.
There's nothing else going on.
All right. We're having a little technical difficulties, but that's all right because the show is pretty much over. So thank you guys for listening. Make sure to stay safe during this outbreak. Hopefully it will end soon so the season can continue. And we'll see you next time. I'm not really. We'll record a new podcast once the season has started, but we're gonna wait a little bit after it starts because there won't be much to talk about since not much is going to happen between now and when the season starts since there's no game. So our next podcast will probably be at the start of the playoffs. I guess the playoffs might start. There might not be another regular season, so we'll play it by ear. But make sure you check out the Instagram in the description below. I'll probably start posting on there again for the playoffs. I'll do some playoff previews once that starts. But anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.